This episode is brought to you by QBD Books, bringing books to readers for 150 years.
Hi, I'm Sunny.
And I'm Allie.
And you're listening to Booksmart.
Booksmart is a podcast for readers who grow absolutely feral for women's stories, book lovers with never-ending TBR stacks, and a crippling fear of falling behind in their annual Goodreads challenge.
If you want deliciously bookish discourse that's as silly as it is academic, then welcome. This is the podcast for you. So go on, get comfortable, make yourself a cup of tea.
Or a hot chocolate. Where's my hot chocolate?
Stat hot chocolate. And let's turn the page together.
Miss Sunny.
Hi, Allie.
Oh, it's so lovely to be back.
It feels like it's been a really long time because, as I'm sure some of you have picked up on, we kind of do these episodes in batches.
We don't live in the same city.
No, we don't. There's quite a few logistical things to get through to get us together, which makes it really special when we are sat on the couch.
I'm sorry. I'm actually going to be a bit silly goose today, I fear. I have had two 3 a.m. wake-ups in a row because of a very exciting opportunity for both of these are kind of linked. Yesterday, I had the absolute utter privilege of being able to do the off-campus TV show Junket, which was one of my career goals for this year was to be able to get this junket. It was something that I've been really working hard towards. And
you've really had your eye on this prize.
For too long, arguably. I've been talking about it with you for too long. I've been talking about it with Prime for too long.
Prime, everyone.
My parents don't need to know this many details about this show that I keep on talking their ear off about. And so yesterday I had the privilege of doing it 3 a.m., 4 a.m. time, Melbourne, crazy times. And then today I flew up to Sydney because we are doing a 2-part special all about the vast world of Elle Kennedy's off-campus series and that whole Briar universe.
And it really does sound like a universe. I mean, for those who are watching the video, just refer to the stack of books, which isn't even complete.
No.
And it'll give you an idea of what we're working with.
We're missing two. They were sold out. There's not much we could do. I have them on audio, so I might just hold up my phone. But yeah, so we are going to be doing a 2-parter. So this is one of the 2 parts that you might be watching right now. You might have watched the prior part in which we did a full deep dive recap into this wonderful, vast world from a diehard stan who's read the books God knows how many times. I could actually probably get up the stats to you because when I was talking with Prime for the junket, I did include my listening history of the books on Audible.
She really added herself.
It's humiliating to reveal that much personal detail about yourself and your listening
personal
habits.
Data, really.
I know. For 3, I think I started reading them in 2023. So that's 3 years of listening data that they've got for just I think 2 of them. Humiliating behavior.
But it got you the junket.
Exactly.
Congratulations.
And so then this episode is going to be a review and it's going to be in the similar vein of what we did for People We Meet on Vacation, where we did a comparison of the book to screen adaptation, talking about the things we loved, the things we didn't like as much, the soundtrack. We're going to be talking about the characterization and then where this is going to go.
And this is coming from the perspective of somebody who hasn't read the books. So I've gone in blind, being able to enjoy this adaptation for what it is, as sort of a standalone piece of media versus, as has been said ad nauseum, the world's biggest fan of off-campus.
But I do really love the fact that we're going into this with that sort of with one of us not having that insider information, because I think that's the hard thing about the Emily Henry one is that we were both so deeply emotionally invested in this.
Yeah.
And so it's really nice to go into this with one of us not having much skin in the game and just being able to enjoy this TV show as a show.
Totally.
And not have that sort of, voice in the back of your head be like,
they didn't do this. They cut this bit of dialogue. This characterization fell off. It actually was it's meant that today my experience is quite uncomfortable because I don't like being an expert. But it meant that my viewing experience was quite pleasurable because I literally just got to sit back and just be pleasantly surprised. I had zero expectation. Actually, the only expectation I had, in all honesty, was that I didn't think I'd like it very much. And time will tell what I thought about it. But beyond that, I had nothing. I had no markers, nothing to compare it to. Before we dig into that though, we are aware that we are owing you a book club conversation that is going to be coming out super, super soon. We've changed the order around a little bit. We're going to announce what that novel is at the end of this episode. But before we look to the future, the near future, I promise, what books have you been reading lately, Allie?
Okay, so recently I was really craving it's seasonal change. There's crisp autumn leaves on the floor, very fall energy. And that always makes me, which I'm sure many other people can relate to, it always makes me want to read or watch something that feels like cozy New York Nora Ephron energy. And
Stars Hollow.
Exactly, Stars Hollow. I just want to be where the people are, and those are my people. And I want to be in that sort of beautiful world. And so funnily enough, I was really craving this, but I couldn't figure out what I wanted to read. And so then I just went onto my Kindle and I was like, oh, well, I'll just like reread like something from like Heated Rivalry or something. I just didn't know. I was just opening it to reread something. And then I looked and I was like, oh, wait, here's a book I purchased recently because I'd heard good reviews of it. And I hadn't actually started it. And I was like, oh, I have a night off. Like, why not just sit down and have a read on this on my Kindle? The way I devoured that book in a day and a half, like I finished maybe the first third that night. I woke up early the next morning at like 6:30 and I didn't have work until 9. So I just spent the whole morning reading and then spent that night reading and finished it off. I did it was pretty much a 24-hour stint of reading that book. And it's different this time by Joss Richard. Oh, that girlie can write so well. It's very second chance romance. It has a beautiful, warm New York setting. It just is one of those books that feels like a hug, but also has the emotional depth to kind of like, to really ground this beautiful experience. That was what I've been reading at the moment, which I utterly adored, cannot recommend more highly. And it's also her first book, which is crazy. It's her debut. And so like I know there's another one coming out later this year. So if anyone wants to send me an arc, I would quite literally chop off my arm for that right now.
Which would not be helpful for turning the pages.
Oh, but Kindle, just tap.
So true. Tap. Accessibility queens. Well, I have reader envy because that sounds like a great experience. So I'm going to add that to my TBR. Thank you for sharing. I actually have been reading 2 different books at the moment, one of which everyone is talking about. So this is going to come as no surprise. I am reading Yesteryear by Caro Claire Burke. It is the book that everyone and their dog is talking about. It was recently optioned for film and the rights were bought by Anne Hathaway, who is rumored or believed to be playing the lead character. I'm actually doing an Allie and I'm listening to it as an audiobook, which is quite a different experience for me.
Wait, what?
I know. Surprise!
That's shocking.
I know. And to be honest with you, it was mostly because it came at a very broke time in my life and I had Audible credits because I so rarely use Audible. But I am trying to get more into the bandwagon. And I'm actually really enjoying listening to it in that way because it's very biting. The protagonist is very calculated and in some ways cruel. In other ways, there's just such a facade that she's holding up because the book really is all about the tradwife movement and what happens when a woman who is promoting very Christian, traditional, conservative values online while hiding behind like enormous wealth and privilege, what happens when she sort of gets a taste of her own medicine and is taken back into the past where she is living truly as a tradwife with no nannies, no help, no money, no followers. That was a really horrible explanation, but literally everyone is reading this book and talking about it.
I know that Shameless Book Club just announced it as their monthly book club pick.
Totally. And it only came out last month and the buzz around it is enormous. Like it's going to be the book of this year. I am not convinced that it won't feature on this podcast at some point, depending on my thoughts on it when I finish it. But Yesteryear, and then very lastly, I just want to shout out Cherry Baby by Rainbow Rowell.
You love Rainbow Rowell.
I love Rainbow Rowell, and it's so nice to love Rainbow Rowell again because I've dabbled obviously in, I've read Eleanor and Park multiple times as a teenager. I even dabbled in Fangirl. But the books of hers that really hit the hardest for me have been her adult fiction. And she had a huge gap from publishing adult novels until I think it was last year, or the year before with, I want to say it was called Slow Dance. But Cherry Baby is kind of a love triangle, which I don't love, but it is not a traditional love triangle. She says herself it's no Jacob Edward thing. But it also features like an undeniably fat protagonist who is the object of desire. And all of the sort of marketing around it has been about like, what is it like to be a fat woman in like a post-Ozempic world or a post-fat world? And the author herself, Rainbow Rowell, has done some really great writing about her decision to not take GLP-1s. Anyway, it's very relevant for right now. And
let's hope Meghan Trainor reads that book.
It's too late for her. But anyway, Yesteryear and Cherry Baby, I'm really enjoying them.
I love that. And now without further ado, shall we discuss Off Campus?
Let's get on that campus.
Okay. I don't even know where to start with this one. Okay. Actually, for context, I've now watched it 3 times.
That's insane.
But we haven't watched episode 8. So we got the screeners ahead.
That wasn't the finale?
That wasn't the finale.
Go!
Sunny's actually learning things right now. So we only watched episodes 1 to 7.
I thought that was the finale.
No, we've got one more episode.
And I was like, wow, okay, that's a very unhappy open ending. But I guess that creates viewer intrigue and suspense for season 2.
No. There's still one episode left.
I am gagged to the nines. Okay, all right. Sorry, continue as you
day.
were. Yeah, wow.
So we've only watched the first 7 episodes. And so there's still one more out there which we will not be reacting to because we haven't seen it. So everything we talk about in this video will just be throughout those and maybe even some predictions for the final episode. I would love to hear what you think could happen in a final episode.
Girl, I wouldn't even predict that there was a final episode. So also shout out to Prime for giving us early access.
Prime.
Early. Okay, so first 1 to 7 episodes from somebody who is an avid fan. The non-spoiler review, real quick, the TLDR for the readers that they got to go. The train's about to come. They're about to start work. The booze at the door. Yay or nay?
Yay. This is definitely a yay for me. And I don't say yays easily for adaptations. And especially ones that, like, I think that the thing that without getting into too many details, what I think is really good about this is that it does change details in the plot where necessary, especially considering these books did come out over a decade ago, the first couple, and there kind of do need to be some updates because of conversations regarding consent, sexual assault. Also, just like heavy, like content warning for this episode. We'll be discussing, God, I've got a list, but we'll be discussing sexual assault. We'll be discussing domestic abuse. We'll be discussing abuse from a parent. We will be discussing, God, so many different topics. They'll all be on the screen right now. So please, viewer discretion is advised for this episode as well as the other episode that we'll be talking about, which I have a very lengthy, I'll be talking about every book. So there's a very lengthy.
You're going to see content trigger warnings you ain't never seen before.
Yeah. And Sunny hasn't even read the books and she knows that.
Yeah.
I think that this show does a very fantastic job of kind of updating the source material for the times. And while making sure that there are references that you will understand from the books and things that are like really good nods, like even small moments like, we don't see Garrett and Hannah, for example. This is not even that much of a spoiler. It's just like they don't have like the Breaking Bad scenes, which is how they first bond. But you see when she pulls out her
context. What's the Breaking Bad scenes?
I will get into that.
Okay,
we'll get into that.
Okay.
It's not that important, but that's like they
like, fill me in,
and read it. They just watch all of Breaking Bad season 1 in like one night. They're up till 3 a.m. and that's like the first time they hang out.
I was like, are they recreating it?
No,
like,
they bond over watching
it.
And so when they decide to like grab out her computer, I think to watch like the Beaches Coast Chelisa, I believe that was like the context in episode 3 after when they're going to the dynamic duos party afterwards.
Shout out to the Beaches. I fucking love the Beaches.
I would love that. We'll talk about the soundtrack in a bit.
Saw them with G Flip and I've been a fan of theirs for like 2 years now and obsessed.
Then you can see there's actually this little tab on her computer open that says Breaking Bad Prime Video. So they have little nods like that, or like Winston, for example. You get it if you get it. There are little, she doesn't get it, but there are little nods that really feel like they're rewarding book viewers for paying attention. But there are things that do need to change because it's a TV show and they can't just have, it's not this heated rivalry sort of show where it's just focusing on these 2 characters for the entire thing. There's got to be other plots. There've got to be other elements. So that's why I'm glad they made changes like Logan having a sibling who was really present. I'm glad that they changed the ages of the characters. Beau's much more of a presence in the show than he was in the books. I think these changes very much aid the show in a really good way. Do I have my criticisms? For sure, but not very high level. Not as much as people we meet on vacation, that's for damn sure.
Do you think if you hadn't read the books, this is a TV show that you would gravitate towards?
Yes, unquestionably. It feels like it's made in a lab. I mean, there's a character called Allie with my spelling who's a theatre kid.
Yeah, that's true. I did clock that.
That girl is me.
Yeah, she is.
She's just like the allosexual version of me. And then how did you feel about it going in, not having watched it, but not having read the books, but having heard me talk ad nauseum at you about the books for years?
There's something really sinister that exists in me where I get really bad secondhand cringe, particularly with that genre of don't laugh, particularly with that genre of like television and like teen / like early adult media. But really I would say that like, yes, it's set in college, but it still ultimately functions as like teen media, I would say, right?
But it doesn't feel, I feel like the good part about that is they can do all these like kind of crazy things, or be slutty, and it doesn't feel as icky to watch.
Totally. It's in the same way that, for example, like your Vampire Diaries, Pretty Little Liars, all those things, like even though the characters may have started in high school and they progressed into college and into full-time work, right? They're still very much like teen shows, right?
I like that.
Yeah. I feel like Off Campus feels like a teen show to me in the same way that even like The Summer I Turned Pretty, even though like the fan base, particularly those who have come to Prime because they love the books, like the fan base outside of them is predominantly teen as well, I would say.
Even like teenage girls in their 20s. Like I feel like that's the whole
100%.
bit.
A whole mentality and
that's
lifestyle.
what it is. They are teenage girl in their 20s shows.
100%. And so I get a lot of secondhand cringe with those. Unfortunately, my tolerance for them is not as high as it once was. And so I was really prepared to dislike this. I actually really didn't mind it. Enough that like if I didn't have the deadline of this podcast, would I have binged it? No. But now that I have binged it, I probably will be sat for season 2.
You definitely will be set for season 2.
Especially since I have now learned what happens in the rest of the series, like now my buy-in is a little bit stronger. What I will say though is that you're always talking about your love of the ensemble cast, which typically in a book I dislike. I'm not talking like 4 characters. I'm talking like a cast of thousands, which it feels like a lot of our recent reads have had. And I feel like that can sometimes be to the detriment of like fully fleshing out your core characters. But in a television series like this, that is obviously set in a broader universe and multiple seasons are obviously going to like flesh out different character storylines. I actually really enjoyed it. So I liked that it wasn't just centered around Hannah and Garrett. I think I would have probably lost interest if it was just around those two. They were fairly boring to me. And it wasn't even necessarily that there were other characters that like I really loved, but it just meant like, I don't know, there was more going on than just this like, well, they weren't they.
I think that's actually a really great place to start talking about Hannah and Garrett as
totally.
as like the it couple of the off-campus universe. They are the people who start off this whole thing. And, you know, they're, especially Garrett Graham as a character is it's such like a book boyfriend. He is very beloved. And I want to know more about what you think about their relationship as a whole, because I think that for me, they've always been probably the least interesting of the 4. I really like their individual plots. I love his plot of, you know, him talking about his like father abusing him and overcoming that trauma. And then I also like her storyline a lot, which is a controversial opinion to really like it, but I love her storyline of, you know, of coming to terms with being sexually assaulted and overcoming that as much as you can overcome such a horrific trauma. And I think that the way in which they kind of see each other and love each other and kind of heal one another, you know, after being severely assaulted in their lives, it is such a nice, beautiful thing to see. In the book, I think it does read better probably, but the show does do it like decently well, I would say. But they've always been the least interesting character couple to me. I'm really going to reveal myself, but like I'm a Sabrina Tucker girl. Like that's my ship. Like I love them more than any other ship in the show. So I'm really sat for season 4 at this point. That's what I'm dying for.
I am really curious to see how the dialogue between them stacks up compared to the books. So for some context, right, I was reading these sorts of trashy romances set as an ally to the trashy romance community. I'm part of it since I was like 11 years old plus. So I actually remember when these books like had their very smutty, scary adult covers and were like doing rounds on Goodreads.
They are horrific.
2015, I believe, is when it first came out. So I would have been 15. I actually never read them, probably in part because the covers did turn me off.
As they should.
Yeah, I had other things. I was sort of in my dystopian and fantasy bag back then.
But like, are these better?
No, they're actually not. They're actually not. They've like, and that's something that we want to talk about in the course of this podcast season, right? Is like the epidemic of cartoon covers. Like we've gone from one extreme to the other, right? We've gone from like the type of cover that you can't shamelessly pull out in public to the kind that like looks like
an academic, like scholastic book fair.
Totally. That like this is the kind that you'd buy for like your 13-year-old niece and be like, holy shit, there's cunnilingus in this. She does not need to know that just yet.
I, no joke, have had to I've been in multiple bookstores before. I've been like Readings, Carlton, Kids, and I've seen Red, White and Royal Blue and Icebreaker in the shelves there.
Oh
and I'm
Lord,
like,
not Icebreaker.
Icebreaker especially. Like Red, White and Royal Blue, I'm like, you know what, let's teach children about the gays. But like let's get them yowies young.
Young yowies. But what I was going to say is that like this, I'm I'm going to say the TV show, and I'm going to assume that it is similar to the book. This story is very much a product of its time, right? Like literally, like I think maybe that's why it wasn't as exciting to me, is because like
It's
even
so
like
too.
all of the tropes involved, even just the dynamic of like the bet, the fake dating, things that are still very popular now and have had a resurgence, right? They were done really well in the past. And it's actually, I think, kind of unfortunate timing because The Deal was one of the first ones to do it.
It was like also one of the first hockey romance
Absolutely.
books. It was kind of the first.
And yet it's just happened to be adapted much later down the line when like the children of The Deal and other novels have come out beforehand and like paved the way, even though Elle kind of did it first. Even as someone who didn't read them, I know that. So with that said, like I think maybe 15-year-old me would have swooned over it. I think for me, I just didn't find either of them particularly interesting outside of their traumas. And as I had said, their traumas are frequently featured in the male and female love interests of many novels that were published around that time. And I love a dreamy man. I'm a swooner. And particularly when it is a man written by a woman. But I really wanted to. And like, this is the thing, the formula was there, right? The guy who plays Garrett Graham, like he is tall, brunette, broad.
Is beautiful and charming.
Maybe.
I think he's charming.
I think maybe if he had some more comedic chops or like an ability to be more comedic. I actually said, hang on. So I was writing notes for every episode as I was watching it. And then around episode 5, I dropped off, which is indicative of the fact that I didn't lose interest, that I was too tuned in. So that's obviously a turning point.
Which is the next thing we need to get into, I think.
I said for episode 4, I don't know what scene it was that provoked it, but I was like, Beaumont's performance of Graham is so muted and low-key, go girl, give us nothing. But equally low-key, it's actually kind of working. Like he is a low frequency. Actually, that's really derogatory. He's not a low frequency person. But like he's very one line. He doesn't have a lot of energy to him. And I think if you compare that to the quirkiness and like extrovertedness of characters in the TV show and presumably how they're portrayed in the books, like Dean, even comparatively like frickin' John Logan, Tucker, right?
But that is exactly how he is. He is just this chill, low energy guy. At one point he said something and his delivery, I was like, wow, you really do play this like a bit like a stupid jock, and that works.
100%. But
that's who he is.
But
like,
he is
intelligent.
But he's
a history major. He is actually like, he is technically intelligent and smart, but he just is a bit like emotionally stupid. But he's a man.
He is a stupid jock without being a fun himbo. And I think that's what I enjoy. And it's like, if you're not going to be that, like he just, I don't know, he exists in a really weird in between. Granted, it was working, right? But like, I don't know, it's like, there was something missing. And I'm curious to see if that is the case in the book. So for me, I kind of was like, whatever. But he did seem like a nice guy.
Yeah. Whereas I was like, he honestly felt like the perfect Garrett. I was like, you know what? Yeah. Like this is exactly how I pictured Garrett. That's how I pictured him.
Why would you name your male love interest Garrett? I'm sorry, that is not a sexy name. Sorry to the Garretts that are listening out there. What I will say though,
I thought this song was big and off campus.
What I will say though is that equally, Hannah.
Yeah, I think that it's time to get into the ages of the female characters versus the male characters, because
you speak. I have thoughts. Yeah. I have criticisms of not criticisms. I have observations or feelings about the actress of Hannah that probably don't have much to do with her age. But I want you to go and speak your piece about this.
I think that for me, I think that when she was like top note. Her singing voice and her speaking voice are so beautiful. I want that even to go into audiobooks because I really love the huskiness of her speaking voice, because Hannah was always described with having like a rather husky voice. So I liked that about her. I think that she is a really good performer. She is too young for this role. I know like, because she's younger than Hannah is in the book. It's like she just is. She was 18 when she was cast in filming this. Ella, and she's a fantastic actress. She's been on things like The Crown. She has had a good she's had a good career so far.
What, as like a 12-year-old?
Yeah, she played young Margaret or young Elizabeth.
Slay.
She's had a good career, but
is she a nepo baby?
I don't believe so.
Someone tweeted that, but I wasn't sure if they were stirring the pot or not.
Everyone just calls everyone a nepo baby. They try to like cancel Lola Young because her auntie wrote the Gruffalo. But I just think that there is this uncomfortable thing in Hollywood when they cast like not to sound like somber, but like a freshly 18-year-old girl, and then have their love interest be someone like this man that's like pushing 30. And I can think about like Never Have I Ever is a really good example of it. Love that show, don't get me wrong. But that it kind of does feel a bit uncomfortable. And now this morning,
I mean, the original of it was How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. The age gap between Matthew McConaughey
crazy
and Miss Hudson is Kooks McGooks.
But now this morning we have got the casting of Grace Ivers, who is John Logan's love interest. And it's not as bad as Antonio is only 25, 26.
They don't make 25-year-olds like that in Australia, I'll tell you that much.
Oh, Mr. in the kitchen.
Said as a 25-year-old in Australia.
But he looks so much older than the young actress I've cast as Grace. I looked at it this morning. Okay, mine it was like 3 a.m. But I saw it and I was like, this diva is young.
So I had no context on who Grace was. And I just saw a casting announcement for Off Campus and I went to go send it to you and I'd seen you really liked it, which was concerning because it was 6 a.m., but you had your flight. And when I looked at it, I was like, oh, this must be someone's little sister, but like, why are we doing casting announcements for that? Like, that's like, who cares? It's part of the ensemble.
Yeah.
And then I scrolled and like the next one was a video of the actor of John Logan.
Giving the role
being like, hey girl, like we're going to do this together kind of thing. And I was like, wait, that's your love interest? I genuinely thought she was a child. And the age gap, like I'm not super concerned about that. It's not that many years, but it's the fact that she looks so much younger than him. I thought she was somebody's little cousin.
Yeah. I think that is something that isn't something about Off Campus necessarily. It is just a wider conversation to be had in Hollywood about the casting ages for male and female actors. But that being said, I think that like Hannah and Garrett, as I said, I just don't think they, like as you said also, they're not like the most interesting couple of the group, which is actually why I think they had to move up Allie and Dean's relationship into this season. But that's book 3. And I think they had to move them forward because Garrett and Hannah can't carry a season on their own with their drama, especially because they are the ones to start off. So we're not getting these like dramas in the background because like the dramas in books 3 and 4 actually happen the exact same time. Those books start one day apart. And while, Tucker's book goes on for like a year or so more than his because of the timeline of pregnancy.
Just kidding. I was spoiled in the other video.
Because of that, it's really interesting because now I know that those two things can't happen at the same time. So it's really interesting in reworking this whole thing. But because those are going on like concurrently and we still see Hannah and Grace, and because we also still see Hannah and Garrett in the background of Grace and Logan's story, I think they really did have to bring forward this plot line and extend Allie and Dean's because they are just so buzzy. Like that's a word. I wrote it in my notes. I was like,
they're both really
buzzy.
hot, which is really nice
And
to
they
see.
have good chemistry.
They do. Sorry, that's actually the more important component of this because I think we've spoken about that before, right? It's not enough to just cast 2 hot people. They need to have chemistry.
And they do. Everyone who's shitting on her for not being like blonde and blue-eyed and him for not being blonde enough and not not being hot enough was like a big thing. And they said he was not tall. And then someone like slid into his DMs being like, hey, how tall are you? I'm like, I'm defending you online. And he said, haha, lol, I'm 6'2". And then they like shared that screenshot online being like, no, we ride at dawn.
That's actually so funny being like, hey, I'm going to battle for you, but I just want to be sure I have my facts straight. So before I like take the lashings, which I happily will, like just confirming you're not short. That's crazy.
Honestly, he's an angel. We had a really good chat yesterday about book to screen adaptations and he's got law. He's a reader, which was really fun.
He's hot. Respectfully.
Not the door, but the gate. That was always.
I read
vast world.
I read Fourth Wing.
Yeah.
Fourth Wing was really cool.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that one. That was nice. That's kind of smutty, no?
Yeah.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. Lightning and
Dragons.
Thunder.
There's
Isn't Fourth Wing have the chair scene?
The what?
Is that ACOTAR?
ACOTAR's cool too.
ACOTAR's
I haven't read that one. But...
Yeah. Something like that. But like so many, it's interesting to be a part of it's like this new thing of like book talk and these subgenres of books that's like probably new like the new gateway of book to screen adaptations. It's like there's this pocket
It's so
of
cool.
just genius content, fandoms, and a lot of care and a lot of heart that is gonna start creeping its way onto screens. And yeah, it's wonderful to be a part of.
Yeah, I'd love to be.
Really wonderful to be a
Yeah.
part of.
Fourth wing
Yeah.
would be a good one to be in.
But before we touch on Dean and Allie anymore, unless you don't have any more to say on that.
No, I have too much more to say on
What
it.
I was going to say though is that for me, it wasn't an age. I think broadly, like it's weird to cast like an 18-year-old up with a 28-year-old, but like whatever. Like they were doing that shit to Brooke Shields from Day Dot. Like it's
When she was 14.
unsurprising, right? So to me, it wasn't like that's a thing. But for me, even though she's so much younger than him, I didn't feel like her age factored into or influenced my impression or experience of her performance, if that made sense.
Okay.
Just, I guess it's funny because like Prime has just announced like their slate of upcoming sort of like YA adaptations, and there's a lot of them. There has been some discourse about, at least on surface level, the overwhelming whiteness of said adaptations, which is a real shame and a missed opportunity. I obviously did
and
see
also
some
the straightness.
Yeah.
Like any of those projects.
Well, really just on all counts of
Queer.
diversity, size diversity, race, sexuality, yeah, at least on a surface level, because we've only seen a little teaser.
Yeah, I'd say I'm actually shocked that they didn't pull the classic thing where they cast like the leading girl in a book to screen adaptation as like a biracial girl. I'm shocked they didn't do that with Hannah, actually.
Well, I'm particularly shocked about that given that the showrunner is biracial.
Yeah,
right?
I'm actually really shocked.
And more broadly though, like that's a whole other discourse, right? Of like, where are the dark-skinned where are the black girls, period, but where are the like monoracial black girls? You know, where are the dark-skinned black girls? There's a whole absence going on. There's a missing persons report that needs to be filed for an entire community of people. We write at dawn. But like, I feel like to me, this couple is such a blank canvas. And in that sense, Ella Bright is like a perfect example of that for me. Like it's funny because she actually has like just very plain, like she has the Armie Hammer effect of like, if you had to describe her in a lineup, like you would just be like gorgeous blue eyes and brown hair, right? But she is quite gorgeous, right? But she's very girl next door, sort of indistinguishable from a lot of other actors. And I think that was an interesting choice of casting her as somebody who fits those physical descriptions in a role that also doesn't feel super distinct in personality. Like they had moments where she was quite snarky and witty, particularly when it was with Garrett compared to with
Justin.
compared to when it was with Justin. Like we saw that she had an edge, right? Like she actually was capable of flirting and she was fun and she obviously was very strong and resilient, which I like loved. And she was very family oriented and cared a lot about the people around her. But
she gave Kimberly Finkel a bit.
100%.
That feels like a slur. I'm so sorry.
100%.
But
with better hair, but not that much better.
Not that much better. But one thing I
really hope there's a different look for her in season 2 because she's so gorgeous.
I know.
We could do better than that lob. Like they just needed some volume.
That fuck-ass lob.
That fuck-ass lob, truly.
But one thing that I am just so grateful for is because this show does have a lot of like casual nudity in it, not to like quite heated rivalry level, but like there is a lot of nudity in it. And I think that I'm so grateful at the end of the day that they did not show her boobs because she was like,
I mean, they were doing as much as they could.
As much as they could, but she was 18 and they had every other female cast member's tits out except
and look,
hers.
it's
thank God.
It's also not shameful to have big boobs. Like
that's why I think she should have been a bigger, should have been an older actress so they could actually do that. So then we could see, like,
you think she should have been older so we could see her boobs?
That sounds so crazy. I'm like, let's go for that. I'm like, you know what?
That's going to be cut in our little carousel as the out of context clickbait.
I just think that if they want to go for a show like this, which is a very like sexualized show, then they should be casting people who they don't feel weird about putting them in sexual situations. It's like
maybe we're projecting though. Maybe it was just like I don't know. I don't know if it was an age thing because then I guess you wouldn't.
There was a lot of backlash online when she got cast.
Yeah.
Because she was, I think she was like either had just graduated or was about to graduate high school.
I would be mad as hell if I got my ticket to Hollywood and just because I was young and fine, everyone was trying to protect me. I'd be like, I'm 18.
Pendulum swinging. People want to take care of young actresses.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But actually it's nice to have big boob representation and they had her fitted nice. So good for her. But I did notice that there was a lot of casual nudity for the women in this series that the male counterparts did not have.
I mean, they did. Garrett's ass is out so much.
Yeah, but an ass is just never going to be equivalent to breasts. And
But like a dick is more than breasts.
We didn't see dick.
I know, but I'm saying if they were to show a dick, then that would be more than, that'd be like more than
Well,
breasts.
then like show us I don't know. I actually think what struck me, and it was a scene that I texted you about, was when Allie and Hannah were there, and like, I don't know, maybe am I fucking prude? But like I have lived all my life with women, a lot of women, in my family home, and then ever since I've moved out, lived with women. I have like, you know, you've been nearly nude and you had your bra on, but I have never like actively been like getting dressed and like in like a little nighting gown, boobs out in front of my room. Like it felt like this, like there was no purpose to that storyline. It felt, if not to sexualize her.
Whereas I actually liked it because I was like, yeah, I am like the opposite, where I'm very much like, I will get changed in front of friends and I just don't care. I'm like, yeah, whatever. You see my tits, I do not give a fuck. See my bush, I do not care. Like, do it at your own discretion if you really want to see that. I don't like, but like, you know, I just don't give a shit. And I feel like that was like kind of a natural thing between like people who live together. They share such a small space with one another. They would just get used to. And that actually is something that is addressed in the books, because Hannah says that she, for the first couple of weeks of living with Allie, was really uncomfortable with like, you know, getting it changed in front of her. But she realized how free with Allie's body, like how free with her body.
Okay, that's
Allie
good
was,
context.
which
That's
is a
good
really
context.
nice moment, because she's like, oh, she's like really free and confident. And Hannah wasn't that, because she was overcoming the assault. And then Allie kind of made her feel more comfortable with her body, which is like a really nice, like kind of element that you get if you have read the books, because you do understand that context.
That's good context to me. I thought it was just the directors taking an opportunity to show us her chest.
No,
versus
it's actually
just like hinting at her broader. Yeah, okay.
No,
But
it's actually
I'm
one
happy.
of the first. It's actually, I think, maybe one of the first things we learn about Allie.
Okay,
I'm at peace. So I think maybe now we should get into the things that we loved and things that we. Yeah, that's my list is long.
Okay, you
So
start.
like I feel like we've been not critical, but we've been, maybe critical is the word.
Yeah, critical
I think,
light.
we've been critical, not just that, but we've been,
I think because your list is going to be a lot longer than mine.
Yeah, you go first.
Because I had zero expectations. Can I just some pieces of dialogue that I enjoyed?
Yes.
Predominantly like in the first episode. And no, before I came at Garrett for not being dreamy, but he did have some good moments in the first episode. When he said, "What? Only you get to look at things you shouldn't." I moved.
I'm kind of a little bit like,
Oh, sorry. This is just another note. This is so myopic. I wrote Hannah's transition from not having her hair and makeup done to having her hair and makeup done by Allie for the block party cracked me up, because it was literally basically the same thing. It was unnoticeable. That girl is afraid of an updo. It was wild.
It was like a little bit smokier on the
That
edges.
was so funny to me. Someone has to make a TikTok of that.
And like the fact they had Remy Wolf performing.
Right?
Love Remy. Love that diva.
Literally.
I've had like fun chats with her. She's an
The way
icon.
Remy Wolf is like the pre-Lola Young.
I always think
And
that.
then it was funny and playful when he was like, "Oh, I actually thought that was modest," when he was talking about like the perks of like being seen with him. And then I just thought this was really telling, like me being an overthinker. If a guy said this to me, I'd be like holding on to this like nuance for ages. When he said, "It's perfect. You're not interested in me and I'm not interested in a relationship." Okay, but you didn't say you weren't interested in her.
I think
there's a
that is
difference
the
there. There's an
smartest
intentional
choice.
difference. He fell first and I loved that.
He fell immediately, which is, as I've said before, I love pathetically down bad men. I love them. And I think that he is a very good example of that.
The whole don't blush thing. I be blushing.
You are.
Role model. Am I blushing now? Role model, deeply still in love. Shout out. Playing. Oh my God. This I love because I just thought it was so funny. Oh my God, Josh Houston's character.
The performative man of the century.
Man of the century. When she was watching one of his YouTube videos, I think actually it's when they're on the bed and Garrett has the idea to collaborate, and that the YouTube video was called Tiny Dorm Concert.
That made me weep.
That killed me. That was smart. That was really, really smart.
They have smart details like that.
I also loved, and I would imagine this is something that came from Elle Kennedy's mind, not Prime's mind. There's only one bed, but they're both so stubborn, so neither of them sleep on the bed.
Not a thing. Not a thing in the books either.
Okay, shout out to the showrunner.
Yeah, I love that choice.
I'm really going out of order here, and I promise I'm going to be quick. If you're going to chase an impossible dream, chase one that actually matters. Shout out to the little non-binary person whose name I forgot.
Jules.
Shout out to Jules. Like, they ate
Sonny
with that.
forgets names of all non-binary
No,
people
I have
confirmed.
consistently forgotten the name of everybody. But what was that? I liked on the rink that the boys were actually quite open with one another. There wasn't a lot of toxic masculinity. Like they were communicating. Like he was pretty open about liking her. They were egging him on in a good way, trying to make things be healthy. That was a really nice
and even
change.
Like Dean, and talking about assuming it was like the Hannah losing her virginity instead of the assaulting, which is taken from the books and it is changed character. It was originally Birdie, but Birdie doesn't have that big of a presence. He graduates at the end of this book.
I don't know who that is.
He's like the other black guy in the team, to be horrible, but like
not just non-binary people. I don't like non-binary black people.
They say his name once, and I heard it because I was like, Birdie! Because I got excited because he's
the one
really
that got like
delightful.
concussed or something.
I think so.
I was like, wow, they added this man of color here just to have him like boom brained.
Birdie was the person who Garrett confides in the OG books, but I think it's such a nice choice to make that actually Dean.
Especially because he's the sexpert.
Yeah, and because Dean, like, especially with the whole thing about consent and everything, I'm like, oh God, this really does read well for Dean. And it sets him up so well for Allie with the emotional intelligence that he does show eventually in his books.
The last thing I'm going to say that I loved, and I'm not going to talk about it because y'all know what it is. There was just a very sexy scene where post-conversation with Dean, Garrett and Hannah are in the room and they're trying some new things to get some ends to some new means. Hashtag enjoyable. Anyway, Allie, on to you now.
I think that the intimacy scenes in this were done really well, and they felt organic and authentic. I like that
they felt orgasmic. It's like, well, some of them others
definitely others didn't, famously.
Yeah,
that's almost like that's a whole plot.
Yeah.
But I think that it had a good amount of chemistry, and it also felt like I like that they were like laughing. I like that, not that I have experience with this, but I do like that it felt a bit more lived in than just this highly choreographed in a negative way.
Granted, it was crazy that they both just happened to finish at the same time. And so
every time. Every time. Now on to my things that I loved. It's long. So I'm going to start off. Dean and Allie's episode. I am a sucker in a TV show when they will spend like the first 20 minutes of an episode just focusing on one entire plot. I say I love ensemble things, but I also really love that as a narrative device. I think about season 2, episode 3 of Euphoria with Cal Jacobs' backstory. That is probably my favorite 20 minutes in TV. Yet again, Yowie representation here. And the second that Audrey Hobart started playing and when he said he was in New York, I genuinely started kicking my feet because I was like, Audrey Hobart Die Hard, interviewed that diva, lovely icon,
that was your
top
scene.
Artist of last year. And
was that your
no,
scene?
that wasn't my scene.
Okay.
So I told Sunny there was a scene that she should know was my favorite scene, and I'm about to get to it. But I loved the entire New York saga, and that is like a whole bunch of their book that we got to see. And I am such a sucker for their book. I think it's so charming and fun for the first half. And I got to say, buzzy. They are so buzzy. They're buzzy as hell. Allie's actress, I think, is probably the star of the show. I think
agree.
She's the best actress in the whole thing.
Talented.
And she's charismatic. And I'm like, you know what? Yeah, she should want to be an actress like the character. I'm like, yeah, you would make it because you're fucking phenomenal. You're great in The Pit, and now you're great in this. Mika, adore
her
you.
hair.
Oh, don't
honestly,
even
an
talk.
award for her hair.
Oh.
Like truly, that was something else.
The scene that I loved most in the entirety of Off Campus was the scene in the car with Bo, Dean, and Allie when they are theater queening out. I'm sorry. That was like when he mentioned like getting spat on by Jonathan Groff. I was like,
yes, of
do
course.
not even. Yeah, how did you not guess that? When he was talking about getting spat on by Jonathan Groff, I was like, oh, theater kids were in the room for this. And it was my exact sense of humor. And then when Dean said, oh my God, you guys, I actually was like, oh my God, you guys. Like I started thinking it in my head. And then when they're like, what did you say? And then they start, starts playing. Oh, that was like a fucking hit to me. That was crazy. The adrenaline that just went through my body thinking about that. Like, I'm going to be awake now for hours.
Maybe I didn't clock it because it's funny. I love musical theater. I went to be an opera singer when I was a kid, but like I'm not a musical theater kid like that. So maybe it's because in that scene I was Dean.
You were Dean and I think I was Bo.
Yeah.
I wasn't Allie. Allie wasn't Allie. Allie was Bo.
Yeah.
Oh my God. That was the funnest thing in the entire world. I love theater kid representation. I also love because in the books, she is like a diehard Ryan Gosling fan. Like it's so 2016, but she keeps on like referring to him being her dream man. And then when she
oh my God, that was pre La La Land.
Yeah, but then when she says,
not the people that
show
like
me your move. show me your big move.
Yeah.
That's a reference to Crazy Stupid Love. She was Emma Stoning it in that
Yeah,
moment. He was
love
Ryan
that.
Gosling. And I love, because for context, in the books, she is actually wanting to be an actress, not a musical theatre performer. She loves both, but she wants to be an actress like the film. I kind of like that they kept that element of her still being like someone who really loves film and loves Ryan Gosling. I think the exploration of Beau and Dean's friendship is so lovely and divine.
I thought they were brothers.
Because they act like they are like brothers to one another. And I also really like the fact that they explored the relationship with Tucker as well. Because if things go the way I'm assuming they will go, oh God, I mean, am I allowed spoilers? Probably not. I feel like I shouldn't reveal this because it's so big. But if you want to know, you can Google it. But I think that is a really...
What do they Google?
Just like Beau. Just Google Beau off campus if you really want to know what I'm meaning by saying I think that that's a beautiful thing to set up. Was this the first time we've ever seen Partiful be referenced in media?
That was a high. That was a high for me.
I'm so excited.
Yeah, I don't know why. I've used that app once for my birthday party and it really made me feel like a bad bitch. So I'm so glad to see Party-Full representation.
It matters.
Oh my God, you know what representation I loved? But it was like literally too much, was like the insanely and impractically huge water bottle representation of Garrett's water bottle that was like, it's got to be 2+ liters, that it goes flying down the stairs in the tutorial to get
obnoxious and like ostentatious. But
yeah, like that was wild. The shivers I got down my spine because of like the secondhand cringe. But that was just
also, like,
so
oh my God,
funny.
the poor bladder.
The poor bladder. Oh my God.
I kind of had more than 3 sips of
He's
that one.
He's a tall man. I'm sure he's got extra room in there.
Yeah. I really like the fact that they changed up John Logan's family situation because he really needed someone to talk to that wasn't Garrett because of his emotional inner turmoil. And I really like that they added Jules. So he has an older brother in the books who isn't at the college with them. He's like outside of college and like working at the mechanic shop for the family. And I think it is really smart that they include someone in his age bracket that can be at school with him so that they can kind of have these conversations. And they also changed that like his mum is actually an addict and not dad. I thought that was really interesting as a choice. I really think that added stuff because otherwise then it feels like they're kind of reheating Garrett's nachos a bit with like the daddy issues. And then Justin, the ultimate performative man, how perfectly, because Sonny, he is a football player in the books. And she's like, why am I interested in a jock? Why am I interested in a jock? And that's like this whole thing. And I think that was such a bad choice of the book. I think Elle, like that was a bad choice. I really like that they made him a musician because it makes more sense for her character to be interested in him as a musician. And God, Josh is so perfect in these like Manic Pixie Dream Boy roles. Like he did the same thing in Heartbreak High pretty much. And he is so good. And he almost acted like a troubadour of the show at times. And I was like, you know what? Go to the Stars Hollow Times Square. On Times Square, the Stars Hollow, Square.
Town Hall.
Town Square. And, earn some buck.
It killed me when like that girl is just so sloppy. The fact that she made a playlist of all of his music. And not only did she call it Crushing, leaving nothing to the imagination, she set a photo of him as the playlist cover.
Humiliating.
She was asking for it. And the fact that he saw that, oh my God, I would have left town. I am. I'm victim blaming in that instance.
She should know better.
That was crazy. I will say though, for me, his performance, his storyline fell flat because like, what do you mean? He literally had zero interest in her and as even a human being on a platonic, respectful level at all. But then suddenly he's like scowling at her because Garrett has his arm wrapped around her. I was like, what a fucking incel. Like you literally didn't even want to say hello to her as a person, let alone romantically.
Yes.
And you saw one guy with her when you hadn't exchanged like a full proper conversation yet from both of their parts and you're scowling at her and being resentful and I don't know what this is, man. Like, what?
I loved it.
Kiss my ass.
I loved it. I was like, you know what? He does suck. I think it was representative of the fact that men suck. So I was like, you know what? Good job. Okay. Things that we didn't like.
That. Also, sorry, there was not enough tutoring going on. And what was his problem? He knew. He just didn't understand he didn't understand nuance.
He's really bad at nothing's explained better in the books. He's just really bad at sort of at putting himself in other people's shoes because he can argue the facts and logic because he's a history student. He's really good at that. He's bad at living in the grey area, which is kind of an overarching plot in his in the journey of the books. He has to put himself in the grey area in his relationship with Hannah and with his father, with Logan and everything. There is this grey area that he has to get more comfortable with. So it's kind of symbolic, but they don't hammer that throwing off because they're too busy fucking instead of tutoring.
But it made me think like, oh, maybe he's just nervous about public speaking because he clearly had a lot of ideas and thoughts and feelings that were rife for debate. And then when he got up, he was totally fine. So I was like, what is he being like? I don't know. The stakes for me, for both Hannah needing her scholarship and him needing to like pass, the stakes, they didn't feel particularly high for me. But I guess that's not the priority, obviously.
Yeah. Okay. The title card was fucking ugly. That pissed me off. It was really ugly. Garrett and Hannah's breakup in episode 7 really pissed me off because that's not the way it happens in the books. And I prefer
season
the
finale.
the Sunny season finale, my episode 7.
Oh, it's just so cringe. But also at the same time, I have to remember they're 20 years old. Like you're going to do and dealing with generational trauma. You're gonna like that. That
and
is
the whole like being scared thing. I do like that they were kind of like he's so afraid of like her being afraid of him, and that's why he stopped. I understand that, but it was better done in the books. That's the one thing I'll be like, don't make that change. It was better done in the books.
My God, when he saw his stepmom's wrist, oh my God.
Cindy, that really broke my heart. She was perfect in that role. Where the fuck was Sabrina? Sabrina and
Coachella?
Sabrina and Dean's storyline should have been in this season, and that's one thing I will die
Sabrina
on the
and
hill
Dean?
of. Yes.
I thought Sabrina and Tucker.
Exactly.
Just kidding. I know all of this because we already had a little universe chat.
So I think Sabrina, who is Tucker's girl, I think that they so should have had their plot line in this season. Because I would love to have seen that depicted. And now I think it's either going to happen next season, like in an in-between Allie kind of thing. But then that feels too fresh with like what's going to happen with Tuck. So I feel like I guess I'm just going to have to be like, oh yeah, and here's someone, their beef happened off screen, which does frustrate me a little bit, I will say.
I was really annoyed that while I know they were doing this whole like non-exclusive or not serious thing, but like when she was still meant to be believed as being with Garrett, how she was sat up on that couch across from Garrett next to Josh. What the fuck is
Justin. Josh Houston plays him.
I keep getting confused. Next to Justin. I was like, come on. And then similarly, after they had their little mutual moment per se, the minute he opens up, she freaks out and just leaves. It's like, girl, come on, you're impeding your own progress. Yeah. Granted, like she didn't realize it was romantic then and wasn't ready to confront that. But even within the context of this new and special friendship that they were building, which I did like, is that they actually like, we didn't waste a lot of time with the progression of their relationship. They didn't actually fight their feelings for particularly long.
Which I like the way it happens in this better with her kind of coming to the realization because he kind of in the book starts back her into the corner a little bit.
Really?
And because he finds out that she's still going on a date with Justin and he's like, what the fuck? I revealed like that I was abused to you. Like you've revealed this to me. Like we've shared such intense emotional stuff with each other. We've had sex with one another. Like, and it's kind of is a bit of payback for him with the way he's treated women in the past. It's a bit disposable, but she very much gets backed into a corner by him being like, he's just like heartbroken and he can't handle the fact that like she is potentially interested in someone else. And she's like, I wasn't even like thinking, I wasn't even planning about going. I haven't thought about it in days. Like I kind of half forgot about it. And you know, then she's like, oh, like I maybe wasn't going to go, and he's heartbroken. And he's like, maybe. And then they get into a fight, and then he leaves. And then she's like, don't storm out when we're having a conversation. How dare you? Then she's like, I just texted Justin and called it off. Like, let's, we're together now. So
I did kind of feel a little bit like she went back to Garrett because she realized her conversation with Justin sucked.
I mean, I think that was just like the thing that needed to cinch, like the clinch, like being like, oh, actually, I don't have chemistry with you.
Oh, what I didn't like, and maybe I'm a bad person. I'm not a judgmental person. The whole like, I'm going to make this confessing feelings about me by me awkwardly, like being basically the opera ghost and like singing my original dramatic song to you and then confessing my love. No, stop.
That made me really like the song though. I was like, actually, I want to listen to this song. The soundtrack. Oh my God. I had a really good chat with the creator about the soundtrack. I think the soundtrack was so fun for the world building, but that's where so much of their budget went.
Shade.
No, as in like, Jesus Christ, those songs are expensive. It's not saying the rest of it was cheap. It's just like, whoa, those songs are spenny.
Yeah.
I feel the same with Summer I Turned Pretty. I'm like, Prime, you got the
Yeah,
money.
they have good
Wow.
music connections.
They really do.
So what's the verdict? Was this a good adaptation?
I think it was I think it could not have been much better.
Wow.
Because I think these books, they're not like this masterpiece, and they're not the sort of like thing that could be turned into this highbrow heated rivalry sort of thing where they're really overly cinematic, because it is like it is meant to be like, you know, they're trashy 20-year-olds. Like that is the vibe of it, as opposed to like this heartbreaking queer love story. I feel like it's, you know, just the most easy comp because it's the most recent big adaptation. I think that there's not many things I would have changed in it. I really enjoyed my viewing experience. I'm sitting here with bated breath for episode 8. I'm so overjoyed with the cast, especially like Jalen. We love Jalen. He was so charming as Tuck. He couldn't have been better. I love Tuck. He's my favorite. And I was so charmed by his performance. And I also really loved the fact that they had a person of color playing the role of Tucker because of how predominantly white the world of hockey is.
It is a predominantly white world, but there's so many men of color in hockey as well that I feel like should be represented. And to me, I don't read books and see race unless it's an important part of their story. And that wasn't an important part of Tucker's story, being his race. Yes, he's a redhead in the book, and I love redheads, and I don't mean to write them out, but we wanted to find the right Tucker for the role. And we auditioned people who looked like many different people for all of these roles, and we found the people who felt like right for that character. But it is important to me as a biracial woman to cast a show that looks like my world and the world that I exist in.
I love that. And don't worry, as a white redheaded girl, we can lose the representation. We don't need it. I'm very happy with that. I really enjoyed my viewing experience, and I think it's like a really solid adaptation. It's buzzy, it's fun, but like it's not world changing, but nor should we. Not every piece of art needs to be.
Yeah, I would
What's
definitely
yours?
agree. I think Off Campus isn't reinventing the wheel. It's not particularly distinct from the rest of Prime's catalogue.
Yeah, it's similar to like a Maxton Hall. Or
Totally, but it definitely will satiate the needs of their existing audience who love that sort of content. I can absolutely see who the show is for. And I have to say, as somebody who would maybe passively watch it like over the shoulders of my younger sister and then be sat when there's conflict and be like, actually fill me in what's going on here, I definitely enjoyed it. I think that I would imagine book fans will be happy with this. And I also think it will appeal to people who aren't fans as well. But it's definitely not something we haven't seen before. And I think it is a promising start to what will probably evolve quite a bit as it goes along, as the seasons progress. I mean, before season 1 has even officially dropped, it's been renewed for season 2.
as it should be, and I'm so sad.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see how it goes, and like, will it get old after a while? But it is nice to see that the current slate of teen shows or teen adjacent shows, right, are shows that, you know, feature topics like sexual assault and consent and the power of female friendship and class and abuse. Like, that is really promising to me, and I really enjoyed that about my experience watching Off Campus.
So there you have it, folks. Here is our very in-depth, it's been an hour, review about Off Campus. I hope that you enjoyed this episode, and please watch our other episode of this mini series that is going to be a whole deep dive into every single book. Sunny's going to time me. I have a minute for each episode.
We're super excited to announce that our May Book Club pick is My Dear You by Rachel Khong. It is a series of short stories that are all very quirky, almost like sort of dystopian, scientific, very surreal. There's around maybe 10 short stories. I've started it so far and I have so many thoughts. I think this is going to be a perfect conversation starter.
And look at that cover.
Look at this cover.
Don't judge
It
a
is
book by its
gorgeous.
cover. Blah, blah, blah.
This is our first time doing a book that's like this, that is that involves so many different genres, right? And that's also a collection of short stories. So I'm really excited to chat about this with you guys. But that episode is coming out later this month. So it's the best-selling author of Real Americans, Rachel Khong, her latest book, My Dear You. It released this year. Can't wait to chat about it with you soon.
And we'll see you on the next one.
See you on the next one.